So I'm back with another one. Na leo tutaendelea na hiyo conversation tulianza jana. Nataka nikuambie vile tunaweza jenga ama tengeneza hizo third spaces nilikwambia about. I'm getting good at this. It's probably horrible Swahili, but I'm getting better. What I just try to say is I'm back with another one. I want us to continue with the conversation that I started yesterday. And I want to tell you guys how we can possibly build those third spaces that I had mentioned. Now, to catch you guys up, if you did not watch my previous video, I believe it's the one titled Kenyan Youths or Kenyan Youth in the Diaspora Need Third Spaces. To summarize that video, there's something called a third space, which I break down what that was. I explained that this third space is needed for the youths because what they're going through, they need to be there for each other. And I explained that what we currently create for the youths that are coming up aren't necessarily third spaces or inviting environments where we can actually understand what these youths are going through. Now, I'm going to touch on each of those. What is a third space? Just for context of this conversation, a third space is, what's it called? An informal place or situation where community slash bonds can be fostered with no guidelines, no pressures, no set rules, or no set decorum for how you can interact with people. These places are usually things like parks, cafes, or libraries. When you think about those places, nobody forces you to go to the park. Nobody forces you to go to the library. But when you go to those places, the bonds and the conversations that you start, they're a lot more organic than a place like your school or your work. Because in those places, you're expected to perform in a certain role. Now, what we currently create for the youths within the Kenyan community growing up here, I would say is usually built around the church. Like I explained, the church is the biggest, it's the core of a lot of the Kenyan communities that you'll find. But when we're seeing what the youths are currently going through, I kind of explained that in yesterday's video, it's a different world that they're growing up in. What I grew up in is not even close to what the kids right now are growing up in. When I was in high school, right, we still had to go out and chat and talk to girls. Now, I talk to my younger cousins and other young Kenyans out here. They're all online. Everything they do is online. So these people are very cocooned. They're in their own silos, etc. And I believe that's why you're seeing a lot of the, what's it called, the mental health issues reaching even them and stuff. So, how would we create such a space for the crop of kids coming up? Let me start by saying that I believe we used to have spaces similar to this or these back in the day. If I could name one, it would be something called Talanta. So if you're older than me, within the US and you're Kenyan, you probably know what Talanta is. I was too young to go. But if I'm to summarize it for you guys, Talanta was an event in Atlanta where a bunch of Kenyans from all around the country would gather to, do dances, do whatever, show off their talents. It was talent in Atlanta, and it was a Kenyan geared event. Now, if I could just break it down as simple for you from what my memory remembers, my older brother used to go. So my older brother would pack into vans with all these random Kenyan guys from around our state, right? They would be in a long convoy heading all down to Atlanta. And then they would show up in like a week or whatever. And then you wouldn't hear them stop talking about the stories. Y'all remember this? Y'all remember this chick? Y'all remember this? Da-da-da. Like it was truly a time to be alive, even though I didn't get to go. My mom was like, "You're not going. You're too young. You're literally a baby. Your brother's older. He can go." But now when I look at what currently exists, I'm like, the only time you'll see Kenyans in mass going to one place is if like an artist comes. If there's like BN or Sauti Soul or some type of, big artist that comes and attracts the Kenyans. Back then, when I looked at Talanta, even though I never got to go, you were hearing of Kenyans going from every other state. Everyone's heading to Atlanta this weekend or whatever. So I'm like, okay, back then we had similar things to that existed. if we were to try to create such environments now, we have to understand that our goal is to get these kids to build bonds and open up with each other and actually speak about what they're going through. Because, like I said, the world they grew up in, they're growing up in right now is completely different. So you have to meet them where they're at. The environments that we currently create, even if we try to create like a what's it called, a youth thing through the church, when you show up and there's what's it called, uncles and aunties and some youth pastors and all this, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think most young Kenyan kids in high school are gonna open up and be truthful with you. I didn't when I would go to those type of what's it called, events that they would try to hold for us, because it was so scripted. It was so like, you're gonna judge me on Sunday. Why would I tell you what I do on the weekends with my friends, and you're gonna judge me? You're gonna talk at me. Nobody wants to be talked at. Nobody wants to be scolded and shamed and you shouldn't do this. Let me give you an example. Right now, I can probably say that most of the kids within high school, Kenyan kids right now, are probably being pressured to smoke weed with their friends, because that's a very common thing that happens in high schools here, right? Now, if an auntie or an uncle was to try to have this conversation with like a teenager, guess what? It's gonna probably sound like, weed is bad. You shouldn't do weed. But in reality, that kid probably needs somebody who was recently in high school, went through those pressures, and can actually meet the kid where they're at and be like, let me ask, have you ever smoked weed? Do you actually like it? Talk to that kid. Understand what they're going through, why they're doing it. If they're already smoking the weed, why do you smoke it? Why do you like it, right? But not from a parent and I'm judging you and I'm scolding you. I personally have had a lot of younger Kenyans open up to me personally. And I've even had a lot of, what's it called, parents. Let's say I grew up with some Kenyan guys within like my state, and now we're older, we live in different states. I went back to my state like a few months ago, and I met like 3 different moms of friends that I used to have, and they'll all tell me like, hey, can you check in on, blah, blah, can you check in on, whatever? Because they know we used to be friends back in the day. But now, it's like they're probably just in their room, they're probably just in their basement, they're probably siloed, and I'm getting the same requests from whether that it's like someone's sister or someone's mom or someone's brother, and they're asking me, yo, can you check on this guy? Can you check on your old friend? It's sad to hear. It's truly sad to hear. But I believe that what's keeping these connections and people solid off is there's no environment where someone can go and show up as themselves. Um, if a kid has to go to a church event and just to connect with other Kenyans, and then within that event, he's being pressured to come back to church on Sunday, da da da, you're gonna lose him. You're gonna lose him. I believe that those Kenyan kids should be able to go on a hike together like once every few months, right? Obviously with an elder, somebody older, but not somebody that's gonna come and scold the kids or talk at them. I don't know how to explain that. Nobody likes being talked at. Like, help me figure out the problem, right? Don't come telling me this is what you're doing is bad. Don't do this. Don't do that. That's never gonna fix or help somebody. So, how would we foster these environments? One, it has to be a safe environment in the sense of none of these aunties and uncles talking at you. Probably people within their 20s who were recently within the places that these teenagers are in, to be able to meet them where they're at. You know, their mom and their dad may not understand what they go through in school, the pressures that are there nowadays. For example, I can promise you that if you're probably a virgin in what's it called, senior year of high school as a dude, you're probably being made fun of. You're probably like, dudes are probably like, yo, dude, you ain't getting none. Da 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 da. That's the reality of the type of pressures that are around them. But then a parent would probably tell their kids, don't go having sex. Sex is bad. You don't understand where he's at that point in his life. So basically, if we continue on the track that we're at, where these kids go home, go to school, go to church, and that's it, you're gonna lose a lot of them to the world, in the sense of you better meet them where they're at early before the world meets them where they're at, and then they just go on with the wind. Once the world catches up with you, those are critical years. They're teenage years, and those adolescent years, they're critical. So if they don't have those bonds and they don't have the guidelines in place at those ages, you can lose them so easily. I don't know. Kind of ranting right now. I don't know how to explain to you guys how we can build those. Like I said, nobody wants to be judged. Nobody wants to be talked at. At the same time, nobody wants to go somewhere and what's it called? Sit down for a 2-hour extended praise and worship session / preaching, right? These are teenagers. They don't want to, I'm going to be honest with y'all, they probably don't want to be sitting through that. They want to go hang out with their friends, talk crap. But at the same time, if these environments are being created as like a overall community where all the Kenyans in the area are gathering together, who knows, maybe there's one leader, takes all the guys. Let's go on a hike, guys. All the young teenagers, let's go on a hike. Talk to them then. Get them comfortable where they can open up and tell you what they're actually going through. Same thing with the ladies. Do the same thing. Now, this all sounds good, but the reality is everyone's busy. Everyone has a life nowadays, right? But what I'll say is those parents will make sure their kids show up to church every Sunday. So if you're telling me that you can't make sure your kid shows up to a park event for Kenyans once every 2 months, then that's a problem. I believe that these environments need to be built specifically or especially for the young ones. But even us in our 20s need those things. I'm going to be real. When I was younger, a lot of people by my age, 25, 26, or already getting married and starting families. There's a lot of Kenyans out here nowadays in their 20s and even 30s who aren't getting married. I remember I used to go to like weddings, at least like 4 or 5 weddings a year. It was like, yo, these things don't stop. But now I believe that even the older group, the 20-something-year-olds and the 30-year-olds, are also missing those spaces. And I believe that's why you're not seeing a lot of people getting married. Obviously, there's a lot of issues going on within the dating culture in America. But these spaces are important. It's where you go find your best friend. It's where you go find a mentor when you're in your adolescence. It's where you go find some guys that you can go through your 20s with and fight, I don't know, your problems, fight your battles. It's where you go to find a husband, find a wife, essentially. If we had those environments strong and going, I believe you'll see a lot of weddings. You'll see a lot of Kenyans getting together. But sadly, those environments have disappeared and the community has been fragmented. So, about to summarize this video, these environments need not to be led in a church fashion, because that's going to scare away a lot of the young people who would probably need it. It needs to be a safe environment where people can come and not be judged, not be talked at, and not be scolded or expected or pressured to attend some Sunday service the next week, right? Let these people come, take baby steps towards you. But that's pretty much all I can say. I don't know. I could probably do a better breakdown of what this would look like. But that's it. My ring light just died, and I love you guys. That's the end of this video. Bye.